So here we have another of the Waters Centre habits of a systems thinker. Making meaningful connections within and between systems. Now, this is one of the most fundamental parts of being a systems thinker. And in the habits book that comes with the Waters Centre, this is one of the first ones, because seeing the connections in systems helps us see the bigger picture. It helps us start and build everything that we build the other habits on. So in the main picture here, you see, for example, a person. They have school, work, faith, home, family, all interconnected that form part of that person's life. So flipping the card over makes meaningful connections within and between systems. What it describes here, a systems thinker sees how concepts, facts and ideas link together, which can lead to new learning, discoveries and innovations. Now, this is a lot about the interconnections, but it's interconnections between systems. This could be in nature, like a plant is connected to the earth, it's connected to the sun because it's eating sunlight, it's connected to animals and insects, and connected in time as well. So the plant will grow and create seeds, which will then be planted to create more plants, and round like that. But we've also got things like facts, connections of facts. So this is how, this is what's going on in our minds when we're learning things. We connect things together and go, this is connected to that. Or, this reminds me of that. When we see a pattern, we can see, does that relate to this totally different system, and apply that pattern. This is what's going on in the background, are these interconnections, these meaningful connections. And when we're linking ideas, again, it's like linking those patterns, seeing how one particular system relates to a completely different one, looking at the system of religion and how that relates to the stock market. I'm just putting some random things out here. But you could find some patterns that relate potentially, and our minds are constantly linking up these things and trying things out and discarding a whole load. But sometimes you get that little genius connection, and that's because you've looked at the meaningful connections within and between systems. So some of the questions to ask if you want to really dig into this. What are the relationships among the parts of the system, and how do they affect the behaviour of the system? Sometimes things are connected in such a way that they influence the behaviour of the system in one way, but if we connect them differently, the behaviour might be different. This might be how our teams are organised, or how the organisation is organised, and maybe we need to strengthen certain connections over here so that it works better over there. There's different ways of thinking of things. How can recognising the many aspects of a system create a better understanding of the system as a whole? By looking at the parts and seeing how they're connected, we can understand the whole a lot better. We can see what influences what the dynamics are, and this leads to system dynamics and feedback loops. Makes us understand all these things and how they work together, looking at the parts as they're part of the whole. How does understanding of one system transfer to understanding of another system? Like I said about the random example of looking at religion and matching it to the stock market. There may be a link, there may not. But it's our pattern matching ability. We can see a pattern over here, does it apply over there? And that might give us some insight, that might give us an aha moment or something like that. We can also map our relationships. How do we connect to our partners, to our loved ones, to our children, to our colleagues? And how can we influence these things? How can we change them and help them grow? And it's the beginning of the tool to start picking up, like I said, system dynamics, feedback loops. This is where one thing is connected to another, which is connected to another, but that feeds back to the first thing. So for instance, your level of happiness increases when you spend time with this person. So you spend more time with this person, which increases your happiness, goes around. And that's looking at the connections with relationships. These all work together, and this is one of the fundamental steps of being a systems thinker, is looking at these meaningful connections and learning from them.